Hey, welcome to the sneak peek of our new app, Struktr. We're really excited about this app. This is a app that's kind of responding to this idea of kind of structuralist cinema. And instead of kind of thinking about, the shutter of a film projector, kind of like creating that illusion of movement, we're using oscillators to create those flicker movements between different videos. So this is a real quick preview of this. As we can see, here's my image on the screen, and we're going to start with just kind of showing how it works. So we can have a buffer that the channel 1 repeats to, and based on a sine wave, if I were just to bring this up, we're not seeing too much of a difference with just one frame, but based on the kind of sine wave frequency going up, we can get some differences, and we can slow it down quite a bit, where it's kind of slower transitions, right? Or we can put it up very, very, very fast and get very, very rapid transitions. And it doesn't just have to be this. We can also put it to the negative, and now we are flickering between the negative and itself. And we can put those frame buffers up as well. Let's say go into 20 frames, and now there's a different way to play with that, right? Now, what's fun about this is that you don't just have to work with a sine wave, you also work with a triangle wave. And depending on the ramp direction, it can be a sawtooth or a triangle. And because of this, it has a very different kind of gesture than the sine wave does, because it goes up and then drops off and flickers right back. So when we're in the negative, you can kind of see how that flickers just a little bit differently. And then, of course, different ramp transitions will make a difference. In addition to that, you can do square waves. So it's either one or the other. And we can even do that as negative, right, which is kind of what you would typically think about this. But the idea of having an oscillator be that path means that you get to choose the rhythm and the gesture, whether it's going to be on, off, or is it going to be ramping. And we can even do pulse width modulation, right, in different directions, so it has a very, very different feel. And then we can start combining those waveforms. So I can bring the sine wave up, and now it has just a very different kind of jittery feel. So if you're designing your video based around the kind of content, maybe different kinds of movements make a lot of sense, right? And then, of course, there's frequency modulation control of these things, right? So we bring up that frequency modulation control and kind of start to play with modulating that frequency. Now we have a really unusual, constantly evolving waveform. So I find that to be really exciting, right? Now that's a weird looking waveform. We can see it kind of playing out here, and we can kind of imagine and visualize how that's going to be. Now we can also flicker with something that's not just itself. We can flicker it with a different source. So we can bring those things in, like let's say with channel 2. Now we're flickering it with this other video. And depending on what you do, you can also bring this FM attenuation down a bit so we can kind of see this a little bit more clearly. And we can even start to animate rotation and zooming along with that. And maybe the width in a different kind of way. That's kind of fun, right? And in addition to all that, let's stop these rotations so much. We also have the way of doing color generation. So we could just flicker between different colors, and we can ramp them up like such, which I'm a pretty big fan of doing. You get some really nice variations when you kind of have it on these unusual loops. And so let me get these set up. Okay. And so we can have it, flicker with itself, but instead we can have it as this kind of color field that's constantly evolving, right? Or we can have it with channel 2 and make channel 2 the other color, right? And now we're able to flicker between those colors. But what's even more fun, and this is where I get really excited, we can actually have it as a keyed source and keyed clip. And now we're kind of flickering between these colors on these key sources in all different kinds of really fun and interesting ways. So it's kind of like a flicker colorizer, if you will. And so this, can maybe for some people be nauseating, but for me, I tend to enjoy it quite a bit. And so this has one potential thing in a large suite of Signiculture apps. As you can imagine, this gets very intense very quickly. And I find it to be quite exciting. So, yeah, so if you just want to play with different things at different timings, or you want to see the potential, bring that kind of soft key down, gives a nice hard edge. We start flipping, whether it's a key white or key black. We'll get very different results there. Especially right now where one's on key black and one's on key white. And one's chunky and the other one is nice soft edge key, so it's high resolution together. It gets pretty fun. So I hope you like this preview of Restruktr. We're going to release this in a few weeks, but really the idea of like how video and kind of the legacy of filmmaking can start to kind of come together and have a conversation with one another is really quite important to us, right? In addition to that, this app is doing unusual things based on kind of waveform kind of paths that I think will play really well as we further develop more kind of control voltage style integrations into the other apps. It's a long-term dream that we're going to have. So look forward to that sneak preview maybe in a couple of months. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're going to get excited about it. And I think that there's some real possibilities as you start to play with this, especially with other apps. Thank you so much for supporting Signiculture. We really appreciate it, and all the residents who come to Signiculture who get to go and apply free of charge also appreciate your long-term support of our organization. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.